Whenever I hear somebody say that the tariffs are a good thing because it's going to bring manufacturing back to the US and therefore create more jobs for the American people, my first thought is, who's going to be working those jobs? Who wants to be working in factories?
Well, it's happened. Not only are the tariffs affecting the car prices, but have shut down the whole dealership. Lights are out, power's out, everything's gone.
I am now going to be paying 72% tariffs on my shoes. So there is not a price that I could increase that to be able to like land another order.
So all of our hot girl outfits from Shein, it's over, girls.
I'm seeing more and more people online saying, well, I voted for Trump, but I didn't vote to lose my job, and I didn't vote for a global trade war, and I didn't vote for Elon Musk to run amok in the government, slashing agencies and cutting jobs, and I didn't vote to see America's allies cast aside. Oh, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course you voted for that.
Wait, what was that?
If you make a product in America, you don't actually have to pay the tariff.
Oh, well, that was a big lie, and he knows it's a big lie, and I can prove it using an easy example, this 100% American-made Florida tangerine right here.
So Trump just destroyed my business, my small business. Trump announced his massive tax plan on items coming from other countries. He says that the countries are going to pay that. That's false. It's the person bringing it in.
We have some major breaking news. Stocks have plummeted in Europe upon market open due to Donald Trump's disastrous tariffs. So to start off, German stocks are down 10%, French stocks are down 6.5%, and UK stocks are down 6%.
So, remember when Trump said tariffs are a beautiful thing? Well, apparently the markets didn't get the memo. It's been a full-on meltdown. On April 2nd, President Trump slapped a blanket 10% tariff on just about every imported item under the sun, and then added extra spice by calling out 185 countries as the worst offenders. That's right, tariffs for everyone. Kind of like Oprah, but if Oprah gave out price hikes and supply chain meltdowns instead of cars. By Monday, the stock market looked like it had just watched its own obituary. Worst plunge since 2020. Crypto? Down. Global markets? Tumbling. TikTok? Exploding with reactions.
It's like there's a lot of reasons why we offshored those, but who wants to work in those factories? And if you were to do it, say, okay, like I'll do it, I'll work in the factory, how much would it take for you to take that job? Like how much money would you need to make? Not glamorous work whatsoever, and we're already giving the boot to all of the workers who would be willing to work in these factories. So my question is, you are saying that there's not enough jobs for American people. Are you going to be the ones that are working in these factories then, or are you too good for that? I mean, I think, or I hope by now that everybody already knows and realizes that it's not going to make it any cheaper to have things manufactured here versus other countries. It's actually probably going to make it more expensive. But also, it's just been so fascinating to see the narrative change about the tariffs, from starting off with other countries are paying them to it's a negotiation strategy to now they're saying, you know, it's going to be terrible like in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to be beneficial for the economy. Like running on one narrative until they get caught, and then they have to like switch gears and be like, okay, actually, this is why we're doing this. And then they get caught again. They're like, okay, actually, this is why we're doing this. And it's like, when are you going to realize that maybe we were right all along in saying that they're just looking for tax cuts for the wealthy and they don't care about you?
Stock indexes in the Netherlands and in Norway were down around 5%, and in Italy, their stock market is down 7.5%. And the Pan-European Stock 600, which is an index, dropped 6% shortly after the opening bell. So just across the board in Europe, stocks are collapsing right now, and this comes just after we saw stocks in Asia collapse. China experienced their worst single-day drop since the 2008 financial crisis. This is a very bad sign for what's to come here in the United States on April 7th when stock trading opens. If you have a retirement account, a 401k, a portfolio, all of that's about to drop rapidly because of Donald Trump and his disastrous tariffs.
It's over. And our iPhones, like I'm recording right now from an iPhone 12 Max, go me, they're going to be over $2,000. They're going up by 40% because of the tariff fees. Let's just prepare to like not spend money, I guess, because like literally it's going to be on everything. Electronics, coffee comes from like Colombia most of the time, out of the country. It gets imported. Our coffee prices, we already pay $11 for coffee. There's going to be a tariff fee. Like, I'm over this. I'm over it. Canada, I'm sorry that you guys have been dealing with this. I am sorry. This is nuts.
So effectively, if this tariff bullshit continues, my business is done. And can someone else explain, like, how we're supposed to get the money to be able to set up these manufacturing options that don't exist in the US? How is this going to happen? When the economy tanks, I have no working capital because I can't sell my products. And like I mentioned in a previous video, it would cost me probably tens of millions of dollars to set up shop to manufacture shoes.
You were perfectly happy to see all that happen as long as it didn't happen to you. And now that the leopard is eating your face, suddenly you've changed your tune. Well, you get no sympathy from me. You voted for that. You wanted that. So you sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. I don't care what happens to you. I just want you to feel the pain that you brought on yourself, because that is the only way you can learn.
See, Charlie is counting on you not thinking about the fact that, yeah, if something's 100% made in America, that exact item won't get a tariff on it, but the entire supply chain and how it's made and all the materials and all of the other parts of it are going to go up in price, right? Let's take a look at this Florida tangerine, right? It grows on a tree, you pick it off. Why would there be a tax on that? Why would there be a tariff on that? Well, what about the hoses for the irrigation to bring water to this tangerine? What about the tractor that's used as these are put into the back of a tractor and then driven off to the supply area so they can be packaged? What about the bags, the netting that these are put in, right? Is the netting made in America? You know, when you buy tangerines at the grocery store and they have that little plastic netting around it, 10%. It went up at least 10%, the price of just that netting alone. Where's the label made that goes on that netting, Charlie? And then let's go talk about the rest of the supply chain. The truck that took that you needed to go put this tangerine at the grocery store. Every single part of that truck, were they all made in America? Because now if anything goes wrong with that truck, that part's going to need to get replaced, which means maintenance costs are going to go up because that part goes up. So now they're going to go pass that on to the actual seller of the tangerine, who's going to pass it on to the buyer. Once we get to the grocery store itself, are all the light bulbs made in America, Charlie? All those fluorescent light bulbs hanging over everybody's head. What about the shelving units? What about the refrigeration units that are used in the produce section, Charlie? What about all of the other different parts of that building itself of the grocery store? Is there anything that might need to be replaced in the near future that isn't made in America? Because all of them went up at least 10%, because we put a 10% tariff on the entire world at the minimum, and at the maximum, it is percentages that we can't even imagine because they were imagined by ChatGPT as they were handed off to college students that you spent the last 4 years distracting from going into their classes while you stood out in a tent and yelled, "No, it's the wokes and DEI that are causing all these problems, Charlie." And Charlie, I'm even talking about something very simple like a tangerine that's grown right here in Florida. I'm not even getting into anything more complicated like a t-shirt, Charlie, because I know for a fact that your t-shirt costs went up because Turning Point USA, the organization that you run that is funneling billionaire money to make sure that these kids keep voting to lower taxes somewhere along the line and destroy the world and maybe conquer Greenland or some shit, that organization that you run uses Gildan t-shirts. And Gildan t-shirts, the blanks that you then get screen printed, those are not made here in America. Where are your t-shirts made, Charlie? They're made in Latin America and Southeast Asia. So your t-shirt costs have gone up. Your costs are going up. You don't buy American. You don't use American labor. You just use American voters. And then you turn to them and tell them the money's on the dresser and it's never there.
Well, it's Friday, 1 o'clock on the West Coast, and the market, or the Dow, has dropped 2,000 points, while the stable genius who believes he knows more than anybody golfs, while the U.S. suffers under his worldwide tariffs. You know who he did not tariff? Russia and North Korea. You know who he did tariff? 1 million penguins on the Falklands, an island of 3,000 or less people. He also put tariffs on McDonald and Heard Islands off Australia. Nobody lives there. Stable genius at work. I'm sure this is going to help bring down the cost of your groceries and the next time you buy a house, right?
And I own a small business. I've been in operation since 2018. I've been incredibly successful, basically doubling my business every single year. And it's not a product that can be made here in the United States. But I've had a lot of people say, well, what about the tariffs before? Yeah, I didn't have any. That was 0% tariffs for me, 0% tax. He added 10% in February, Then he added another 10% in March. And then yesterday, he just announced an additional 34% on top of that. So for all products coming in from China, that is now 54%. So most retail goods, stores, products, there's about a 30 to 40% profit margin. Okay? Profit margin. That profit margin, a lot of the times, it's not even a living wage. Okay? But that 30 to 40% is how the people that own that business are able to live. And then there's still other expenses on top of that. 54% tax is more than the profit that most retailers or business owners would make. Well, a 54% tax. And I'm just paying that money straight to Trump.
Wall Street spiraled faster than your ex's DMs after 2 a.m. European exchanges bled red. Bitcoin slipped. And on TikTok, folks went from buy the dip to is it too late to sell my NFTs for beans? But here's the kicker. Trump says the markets are just taking their medicine. Like this is some sort of global detox. Only problem? We didn't sign up for the cleanse and definitely didn't ask for the bill. Meanwhile, in Brussels, the EU is prepping counter tariffs. Canada slapped back with auto duties. China is going full retaliatory mode with a 34% levy. It's like everyone got handed boxing gloves and told to start swinging. And while Trump says prices are down, reality says otherwise. Food, up. Tech gear, more expensive. Your next iPhone might need a co-signer. Companies are quietly hiking prices. And social media? It's full of people rage posting their grocery bills, crying over avocado prices, and joking that the only thing not taxed yet is air. They'll give it time. Now here's where it gets even wilder. Elon Musk, who's somehow both Tesla CEO and government efficiency czar, says he prefers zero tariffs. Wait, what? You're the one helping run the show, my dude. But hey, this is 2025. Nothing makes sense, everything's content, and geopolitics has entered its reality TV era. So global fam, what do you think? Smart move or economic chaos with extra steps? Comment and let us know. If you like this video, send this to someone who needs to see it. Before you scroll, smash that like button and subscribe because we've got more wild stories coming your way only on Clipvue.